Alright guys, how's it going? Gaz here on Full Time Devils. It's time for another huge debate, and today we're going to be talking about the opening game of the season and what José Mourinho's starting 11 could be for that game. Now, I'm joined today by Squawka Dave and Howson, two of the brightest minds in football at the minute. I'm sure that no one will have any doubts about that, apart from Howson. So Dave, let's start with you and let's talk about the transfer window so far, shall we? How do you think it's gone so far? Man United getting the business wrapped up early, and do you expect any more to come in?
I think it's been brilliant. You know, we've seen the last few seasons with Manchester United, they've been messing about with the transfer window, getting deals done on the last day. That's ridiculous. And something that Mourinho's come in and instantly said is that, look, get my business done so I can work with these players. You know, the football is going to completely change from what we saw last season. The transition is going to be key. You know, from defence to attack, we're going to break with such pace. But these transfers, for me, have been excellent. You know, bringing Bay in for Villarreal, you know, a young, very, very talented defender, but a defender that's very composed, good on the ball, loves to play the ball in between the lines. So it's a positive move for Manchester United. If United sit a bit deeper, he'll be a perfect player there. You know, Zlatan, we all know about Zlatan. So happy that he's come to Manchester United. 38 goals in 31 games in Liga last season, 13 assists. He's evolving himself into the complete forward, can be the poacher, target man and the creator, can play either one of those roles for Manchester United, whether he's dropping deep in the inside forwards and making that move inside, or he's just scoring the goals. 25 out of his 38 Liga goals were one-touch finishes within the area. So that's what he's maturing to. He's a deadly striker, and people that are criticising that 38 league goals in Liga is a bad thing need to probably go and watch a little bit more of Liga, because it's not the worst league in the world. There's teams like Lyon, Marseille, Saint-Etienne that are very good. So be positive about Zlatan. He's coming to his prime. If you look at, you know, you go into the deeper stats, expected goals. The expected goals have been rising since he's hit about 28, and that's a good statistical measure that he's coming to his prime. And I think this season in the Premier League, 20 goals for me, definitely. Moving on to Mkhitaryan, again, a wonderful player, a player that's capable of playing any of the three attacking positions, attacking midfield, on the left, on the right, even in central midfield. But what he'll give United is pace on the counter-attack, those runs in behind, that creativity. Likes to cross the ball a lot. You know, potentially it could be a little bit frustrating from time to time. Mkhitaryan continually does that, but he'll find his target probably, you know, maybe one time out of three. Very, very good at the cutback. His relationship with Aubameyang and Marco Reus last season for Borussia Dortmund was one of the best front threes in football. So if you've got Zlatan, Martial and Mkhitaryan, the blend of attacking talent there is ridiculous.
Howson, what do you think about players coming in? Because Mourinho did say in his interview, in his first press conference, that he does have a fourth player that he's looking at bringing in. Now, do you think that is gospel now and we're only bringing in one more player? Or do you think he's just doing that as a sort of tactical move to maybe make agents crap it a little bit?
Do you know what? He actually didn't say a player. He said positions. Positions was actually what he said. So I do think that still leaves the door open for Hirving Lozano to come in, because I consider him the same position as Mkhitaryan. So I think people got wrapped up just thinking a fourth means a fourth player, and obviously we all just jumped on the Pogba thing. But he actually said positions. It was 4 positions that he's identified that he wants to sort out, and I think that leaves the door open. I also don't think Lozano's coming in to be a starter like Zlatan and Mkhitaryan, and obviously if we got Paul Pogba would be a starter. I think that goes without saying. Fellaini's not keeping him out of the team. I think if you look at what Mourinho's done, and I think he's had this job for 6 months at the moment, because we've seen him scouting, we've seen the speed at which these transfers have been completed, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed with that so far, but I'm also impressed with what he's done. If you was looking at this from like a business perspective, and you was like, what was our business lacking last season? Our business was lacking goals and assists last season, and he's literally just gone and bought goals and assists. Now you can say he hasn't bought goals and assists from the Premier League. We don't know if they're going to react the same, but he's gone out and he's gone, there's a shitload of goals, there's a shitload of assists. Bosh. Now, that's that bit sorted. He's strengthened the defence a little bit, which was very injury prone, despite having excellent statistics in terms of how it played as a defence. The one thing that he's got to sort out now is people driving through the middle, add a couple more goals and assists from midfield, and we are an excellent and very strong side. And if it is Paul Pogba, then it's game over, lads.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, it would be a fantastic signing. Personally, can't see that one happening myself. What I do find interesting, though, at the minute with José Mourinho is that before seasons and during transfer windows, even back under Ferguson, in fact, quite a few times under Ferguson, the amount of times where all fans have been pretty much in agreement of which positions we need to strengthen, and he's still gone out and not strengthened any of the positions we need them to. Well, just things like that. Remember that centre midfield problem we had for years? Never went and strengthened that. And this is the first transfer window in a very long time that Mourinho has actually gone out and got exactly... he's strengthening the positions exactly where we need the players. We needed a winger, we needed a striker, we needed a centre-half. In fact, I even think we could do with another centre-half, and we do need a midfielder, and it seems like that's definitely what he's going for. Dave, can you see anyone else coming in?
Well, sorry, guys. I'll just jump in here. The one thing I can say is that the one that's I'm open-minded about, but I'm not mega impressed with is Bailly at the moment, because I see so many young centre-halves at the club, and I see him with only one season's experience ahead of him. What I thought we really needed was a proper, old, experienced, master of the dark arts centre-half. That was what I thought we needed, a 29, a 30-year-old that would just go straight into the team. Yeah. We've got far too many players that have got potential, and I think it was more Mourinho. I thought this was what he was going to get with Mourinho, because that's his modus operandi, isn't it? Is to buy a ready-made, bosh, there you go. So for him to sign a 21-year-old, I do find it a little bit strange. And that's the one that's not blown me away at the moment. I'm fully prepared for him to do so. But at the moment, as it stands, I'm like, yeah, I can see the need for bringing in another one, which almost like wastes a transfer for me.
Yeah. Dave, who can you see coming into Manchester United then?
Yeah, I kind of agree there. I feel that, having an older defender in there, Bonucci is someone that I've been talking about for 12 months, a player that would be perfect for United, very aggressive, but also very good at bringing the ball out of defence. And I think that's what United have lacked. I talk about Bailly having that ability to play that pass forward. Bonucci's 20 times a player that Bailly is at bringing that ball out and distributing. Apparently Manchester City had a bid rejected from Juventus.
I was going to say, let's not talk too much about Bonucci, because he could be playing in City next.
Yeah, but you've always got to talk about good players, Gaz. And I think that if Mourinho needs a player and wants to go big for a centre-back, he'd be perfect to have next to all the young centre-backs we do have. And then whichever young centre-back steps up, be it Chris Smalling, Bailly. Chris Smalling's probably not young anymore, but he's still in that kind of bracket. Bonucci would be absolutely perfect. But I think the central midfield or attacking midfield, whichever one he sort of Mourinho goes with, whether it is a natural attacking midfielder or he goes for a central midfielder, it's going to be interesting, and it will reflect on the formation that he plays. I would definitely go for a central midfielder, a sort of a goal-scoring central midfielder, be it Paul Pogba, be it someone like Andre Gomez, maybe João Mario, very impressed with at the Euros, Koke, Dele Alli maybe, or even someone like Ross Barkley that's Ross Barkley's on fire, when he's really going, he's a wonderful player to watch, brilliant on the counter-attack. And again, that's what Mourinho will be gearing this United team to do, is play on the break. So potentially Barkley could get him for a reasonable price. Obviously, Everton have got a lot of money coming in. So maybe go grab Barkley from Everton, bring him over and try and get Mourinho to make him mature as a player. And it's the intelligence that Barkley lacks. And if Mourinho can teach him some sort of intelligence, playing on the counter-attack and playing that early fast pass and then making the move, it's something that Barkley lacks too many times, that he tries to dribble past the whole team, and it's that decision-making that needs to improve. But Mourinho could be the perfect man to do that. But I definitely think central midfield, Paul Pogba would be the one that I'd go for if money wasn't an option and he'd want to come back to Manchester United.
Cheers, Dave. Howson, what about people going out? What about players going out? And more specifically, players that had a lot of first-team football last year, the likes of Mata, Blint, Rojo, Fellaini. Could you see any of those players leaving this summer?
All those names, really. I think one that you didn't mention, obviously, is he didn't play a lot of first-team games last year, is Phil Jones. Yeah, Phil Jones should be very, very worried at the moment, because the news that Mourinho's going to be taking the likes of Roshan Williams, Tyrell Warren and Axel Tuanzebe to the first pre-season game against Wigan. I'm happy about it. I'm delighted about it, because them lads are absolutely top draw. I watch a lot of youth football. These lads are so ready for minutes. Tyrell Warren is almost hilarious in how aggressive he is. Vidic-esque is unbelievable. The leadership that you're getting from this 17-year-old lad that looks like he wouldn't say boo to a goose, and he just goes through players. The Manchester derby, the under-18s derby last year, he was literally a 10-man, one-man player. It was ridiculous. They won 1-0, I think, and he was out of this world. But anyway, I think Phil Jones has got to be scared, not only because of what's behind him in them lads, but also what's ahead of him. And I think Rojo's ahead of him. I think Blind's ahead of him in that position. And I think Bailly, because he's a new signing, just comes in straight ahead of him. So Phil Jones is definitely one that I think needs to be looking over his shoulder, if not getting onto the phone to his agent and be like, can you keep me in a Premier League? Because I think his injury record means that, why would you take a chance on him? I think he's going to really struggle to find a decent club. Fellaini, all the talk is that he's going to Italy, so I expect him to go to Italy. And I think it's just as simple as that. I wouldn't be surprised to see more moved on. Mata could be one that's moved on because he's on a lot of money. The wage budget is something that United... We're not asked about transfers for some reason, but the wage budget is something that they like to get down because that's a commitment over 4 or 5 years that you have to pay a ton of money for. So you get people off the wage bill, like we did last summer when the likes of RVP and all the rest of them went. You get people off the wage bill, and you're allowed then to spend crazy money on like big one-off transfers. I think Juan Mata's in definite danger. And I expected, and I was sort of hoping as well that the issue that them two had at Chelsea would be different because it's a different club with different set of circumstances. But if Mata's seen his ass with Mourinho over that, or Mourinho just really doesn't like him, then what's the point in complicating it? You might as well move on for his career, and we can, move on and look to strengthen other areas because we are quite strong in that position. If he's going to play 4-2-3-1, there's only going to be one player playing centrally in that number 10 role. And if it's not going to be Juan Mata, he's useless off the bench. Why keep him around? The other one that I think would probably be on his bike, you mentioned Blind. I would have said no up until a press conference where he said that he wasn't looking at multiple players. He was looking at specialists. That's a problem for Daley Blind, I think, because his strength is that he's very capable in a lot of positions, but he's not really a master of any.
I think the thing with that, though, Howson, he'd mentioned that he wants specialists, but he wants 2 to 3 flexible, fluid players that can play a number of positions, whether that's going to be Daley Blind or Marcus Rojo. I think one of them will go, one of them will stay. I personally would love to keep Daley Blind, but again, like you're saying, he doesn't really fit in at left-back under Mourinho, doesn't really fit into central midfield, and doesn't fit at centre-back, so he would just be a squad player. Is he going to be happy with that at the age that he is? Maybe not, so potentially we could see Daley Blind going, something that I wouldn't like to see, because I think he massively improved last season, again, evolving as a player, and I feel like, give him a few more years, he could play that role in central midfield, bringing the ball forward out of the back and going into midfield. But I think Daley Blind could be off, or Marcus Rojo. Again, agree with Juan Mata. I feel that Mourinho should switch to a 3 with 1 holding in central midfield and then 2 ahead. I feel like that'd be the right way to go tactically in European football, to go back to that counter-attacking 4-5-1 style. But then again, where does Wayne Rooney play there? Mourinho said yesterday that Rooney's not a 8, not a 6. He's a number 10 or number 9 or a half 9. So again, there's questions with the squad and what the system is that Mourinho's going to play. And again, Phil Jones, probably, and Fellaini, I'd probably see the back of Fellaini. I don't think he fits in a Mourinho side at number 10 at defensive midfield. Don't fit for me at all.
Dave, I'll throw a name at you, and it's a name that I don't want to see leave the club because he is a massive fan favourite. But Ander Herrera, does he have to be worried?
You see, again, Ander Herrera could be the perfect central midfielder if United were to play a 3. We've all seen how Ander Herrera's quality of playing that sort of right central midfield role, the run that we went on, not this season, the season before, Herrera was playing that position. Again, when United looked quite good this season, playing that same position. If you were looking at a midfield of potentially playing either Michael Carrick or Bastian Schweinsteiger as the pivot in front of the back 4, and then Herrera and potentially Pogba or Herrera, Schneidlin, that could be quite a good midfield, an energetic midfield, a midfield that can tackle, that can press. And Ander Herrera can score goals. We know how good he is at finishing. It was something like the season before last. He had 8 shots on target, scored 5 goals. Again, had a very poor last season, but the season before he was good. So it's a big season for Ander Herrera, a big pre-season as well. If he can impress Mourinho, why can't he be our sort of Frank Lampard-esque goal-scoring midfielder that we've been dying out for season after season after season? I think that would kind of work for me. So I'd like to see Ander Herrera given one sort of last chance in a way where he's got to prove himself and he's got to become the player that we always thought he'd be following the signing from Athletic Bilbao.
Right, now's the important bit. I want to hear your 11 for the start of the Premier League season against Bournemouth. Howson, we'll start with you. What do you think Man United's starting 11 will be?
I'm not going with what I think it'll be. I'm going with what I would play. What I would play is obviously Big Dave in net. I don't think there's anyone going to argue with that whatsoever. I'm going with Darmian at right back.
Romero, mate.
I'm going with... I don't even think he would. I'm going with Darmian at right back. And I think Darmian's coming for a lot of unfair criticism. I don't think he's the greatest going forward, but I think as a technical defender, I think he's jockeying, he's fantastic. And I think in a stronger side, he'll look a different player. Defensively, he was great last year. I don't expect that to change. Mourinho's team's going to set up in a very similar way defensively to Van Gaal's team. I'm just hoping in the final third they're a lot more freer and a lot more aggressive, and I think that'll be the difference. So Darmian gets the spot at right back. Definitely good enough to be given another chance and another opportunity to see what he can do there. And a run of games. I think injuries interrupted his settling in. Maybe the second season really works for him. I'm going to go with Smalling and I'm going to go with Bailly just for that little bit more pace in the back line than Blind, and that little bit more aggression and height than Blind offers you. Because I think teams like Bournemouth hitting us on the break and stuff like that, I think that was one of the issues that we had. It was because our line was so high that when teams did get in behind us, Daley Blind is next to useless when covering like that. I mean, I love him as an intelligent footballer, but let's face it, he's got no pace whatsoever.
Yeah. I think it's technically as well. He's not very good on the turn. So when you put the ball over his head, it's not just his pace, but he's really slow to turn his body around. His agility's quite poor. So it just takes him that time to come, and then by the time that he's around, he clean through on goal. So yeah, Howson, I agree, more pace at the back.
And then new signing Luke Shaw at left back. That's going to be awesome for us. I can't wait to see him get back. I think José Mourinho is going to absolutely love him. And I think the thing that he mentioned about him being greedy or whatever, I think that was just, it's because he got spited by him, basically. And I think he didn't get him and he really wanted him. So I think that's going to be an excellent left back for us. And I think Mourinho's going to really love him. I do agree with what Dave said earlier about going with a single pivot in midfield. And I'm going to play 4-3-3. And my single pivot's going to be Schneiderlin. I think he was massively underrated in what he did last year. Schneiderlin sits at the base of the triangle for me. He mops up and he distributes it to the two more creative players. Those two more creative players is Bastian Schweinsteiger, who I don't think will play all season, but if we're fit for the first game of the season, then he plays for me, because I thought when them two played together last season, we looked great. That we really did. I think Schweinsteiger's organisational ability, his leadership, his eye for vision. I think he was a fantastic player, and he did actually play really well for us. He just didn't play anywhere near enough for us. So he's on the left-hand side of it. Herrera's on the right-hand side of it. And I think Herrera and Schneiderlin give you the energy, and you can sort of carry, let's face it, the knackered legs of Schweinsteiger at the moment. So my energy comes from Schneiderlin and Herrera, buzzing around, making things happen. Organisation from Schweinsteiger, and then you all know what the forward three is going to be. We're all excited to see this. Marshall on the left, completely different style of forward. Like, I see a lot of people saying he's a winger. He is not a winger. He did 2.7 dribbles per game last year, which means that he's taking it up himself to try and attack straight at the heart of the defence, compared to 0.2 crosses per game. If he's only doing one cross every 5 games, that is not a winger, is it?
I think it's
a massive contrast to Mkhitaryan, who does fire the crosses in. And I like that. I like that sort of attack. We had that with Beckham and Giggs in '99. Beckham would throw the crosses in, Giggs would run at you. And I like that. I like that different style of attack from the left and the right. Ibra in the middle. Rudy's going to have to sit on the bench for me for this game, because I don't see a way for him to fit in there. I would have maybe put him in midfield, but Mourinho coming out and saying that he's not a 6 or an 8.
Yeah.
Well, he's not playing there, is he?
No. Got to say then as well that's what Howson would play, not what he thinks he would play. Dave, are you going to tell me what you would play or what you think will be the actual team?
I think I might give you both, Gaz. I think that we'll go with what I think might happen and what I'd like to see happen. I think, what might happen, David De Gea in goal. I think Darmian at right back is a Mourinho-type defender, someone that holds his position, doesn't necessarily go forward. With Mkhitaryan on the right-hand side ahead of him, it's not a problem for me. I think the issue with United last season, it was so narrow on that right-hand side that Darmian was sort of really exposed in that final third, that he had to make things happen, and he's not an attacking fullback, you'd say. He is a defensive fullback. So for him, for Mourinho, it worked. Him covering them, sort of coming to a back three with Luke Shaw obviously playing left back, going up the wing, being the main attacker from fullback. I think Bailly and Smalling, I think that'll be the centre half pairing to start against Bournemouth. And then I think the question again is in midfield. I think Mourinho potentially may go with a 2 holding, and this is where the question is. I think it's going to be a ball player, either Carrick or Schweinsteiger. I think he'll go with Michael Carrick, and then the signing, whoever's the specialist that he's going to bring in, I think it's going to be Paul Pogba. I hope it's going to be Paul Pogba. So Michael Carrick, Paul Pogba holding. Then the 3 behind Ibrahimovic, obviously up front, is going to be Mkhitaryan, Wayne Rooney, and Anthony Martial. Again, what Howson said, such pace, such power, with Rooney sort of playing those passes in behind, but also getting into that penalty area. It's going to be a fast attack. What I'd like to see, though, is I'd like to see that midfield 3, as we mentioned before, with 1 holding, 2 in front. Either it being Schweinsteiger or Michael Carrick, or even going for someone else and bringing someone else into the club, maybe William Carvalho, or even, Howson made a great point about Morgan Schneiderlin. Looked very good for Manchester United when he's played in the Premier League. United went on to win 55% of the games that he played, compared to 33% when he wasn't playing. So maybe he can play that single pivot, and then ahead, either Schweinsteiger, Pogba, a variation of that. and a Herrera in there. I think they'll take a little bit of time to find that balance, but I do think a three-man midfield for this Man United team would work both defensively but also going forward, because it sort of breaks up the team, and the front three of Martial, Mkhitaryan and Ibrahimovic can stay up front and they can look to break, and that's what we want to see Man United do, is attack with pace.
I was going to give my team now, since we've not got that many people. We've only got 2 years and we've got time. So I was just going to go with a very similar team to what Dave said, actually. The only difference is that I cannot see us getting Paul Pogba. As much as it would be absolutely brilliant for us to go for him, I feel like we'll fail with him and then go for another central midfielder. And I'm thinking Blaise Matuidi could be the man who comes in. So Blaise Matuidi alongside Carrick in my team. But yeah, very similar to Dave's. Right, guys, I'm going to give you 30 seconds each to convince me why your team is the best, because I'm going to decide which one I think will do the business against Bournemouth on the first day of the season. That's right, I have the responsibility of doing that. I don't know who's giving it me, but I do. Howson, let's start with you. What's your 11? We know you're 11, but tell me why it's going to do the business.
I'm just trying to think where it's different to Dave's here, and the only thing I can see different is really that I've really gone for Schneiderlin and he's gone for Rooney, and obviously that's just literally dropped that player right down into the defensive role. I think my team's better because there's a lot more balance to that midfield. I've got a ball player and an organiser in Schweinsteiger. I've got the mopper-upper and the cleaner and the water carrier in Schneiderlin. And I've got the energetic, pacing, likes a shot from long distance in Herrera. And I think those players coming from the deeper areas is going to leave less congestion in the final third, which is where we really up last year.
Right, fair enough. Dave, tell me yours. Tell me 30 seconds why your team would be thrashing Bournemouth, really. You've got to say, first game of the season.
Well, I think my big point's going to be all around Paul Pogba and his imminent move to Manchester United, hopefully. Paul Pogba would bring United is something in central midfield that we've not seen for years and years and years. God knows why we let him go. He's so good on the ball. He's so good at changing the pace of the game. You give him the ball in central midfield and he'll drive at you. He'll go. He's got a good trick in his box. He's got a number of great skills out there. His touch is unbelievable. He's really good at picking up the ball in deep areas and crossing it into the box, which will help for one man. That's Ibrahimovic and Anthony Martial. Martial is so good at getting into the penalty area with his timing. But what else has Pogba got? Shot from range. He's brilliant.
He's got it all, but Dave, I've come in.
Pure fantasy, mate.
I know. I'm doing this today.
Let me believe.
I'm still in the mindset that it's not happening. And now, hearing you talk about him, you're starting to make me have a little bit of hope, and hope is what will kill me. So please don't do it to me. I reckon I want to say that Dave's team is the best, because I think that the 4-2-3-1 is very similar to what Mourinho will play, but purely because he's put Paul Pogba in it and it's not happening, I'm going to give it to Howson. Right, guys, what are your hopes for next season then? Are you thinking we need to be winning the league, we need to be challenging for the league, or would you be happy with third, fourth, maybe with another trophy alongside it? Howson?
I don't know, to be honest, because I think making any sort of prediction ahead of next season's it's just pulling stuff out your ass, because there's going to be so much competition next season. There's 8-9 top class managers in the league. There's hundreds of millions of pounds getting spent on transfers from teams that you just wouldn't. Look at Crystal Palace throwing it around like they are. Like the top 4 is a top 8, and what if you get another team that comes out of the bottom half of the table and steamrolls into the top half like we had last year with Leicester? That could happen. I think Leicester are still going to be there. Chelsea won't be as bad as it was last year. We won't be as bad as we was last year. Everton are going to improve. There's going to be competition that I think anybody in the top 4 isn't guaranteed to be finishing in the top 4 next year. So to say, I think we'll win it, that's nuts. You've got to just hope that you're in contention come the new year and then see where it goes from there. If we sign Paul Pogba, I'm going to go buy a crate of champagne, because I think that's going to be the difference. We're a very good side. With Paul Pogba, we would be an excellent side. And I think we just lack we've got a couple of world-class players, I think. And I think Ibra's maybe just on the downslope of being a world-class player. I think Martial's just on the upslope of becoming a world-class player. I think David De Gea is a world-class player, but there's not enough in the team. Generally, you need more world-class players in the team to compete on multiple fronts. I think Paul Pogba is undoubtedly world-class. And I think if you manage to sign him, and I'm a bit like Gaz where I'm sceptical. I'm thinking, it's not happening. But half of that's just protecting me from the heartache of it not happening. Because if you listen to what's being said and the things that are coming out, it seems like we are actively trying to do it, and Madrid aren't interested at the moment. It seems like we're fighting against ourselves only here. So it seems like it's entirely plausible that we could get Paul Pogba. Whether or not we do is obviously a different matter, but it seems like there's truth to it. It doesn't seem like it's complete fantasy that we're going to sign him. It seems like someone at least is trying to make that happen. So if someone's trying to make that happen, we have to believe that we're entering a new era of Manchester United that takes no shit.
Yeah.
That's one thing that Jose Mourinho brings. He takes zero shit. I mean, you see the skill at which he was throwing digs out left, right and centre yesterday. Basically, everybody in the Premier League got a jab thrown at him yesterday without him mentioning a single name. And I think Jose Mourinho would not have taken this job from where we've been languishing in the last 3 years without guarantees that we would go absolutely bananas on the players that he wanted. And I think we've done quite well so far, very well so far. I'd give us like a solid B. But I think to take that to an A and to take us into the next season, I mean, if we did sign Paul Pogba, we go into the next season and I go, bring it on, because I think that's what I think. With Paul Pogba, we're a team that is easily able to say we can win the league. We've got a manager with experience of winning this league. We've got a manager that knows this league. We've got players that are still very, very good. We just needed to tweak the system a little bit last year. You could see the evolution of what Van Gaal was trying to do. It just didn't happen enough. And I think what we've done in the additions that we've added with Ibra and Mkhitaryan and the continued growth and development of some of the young players coming through, and Martial and even Memphis, who hasn't been mentioned once in this video, I think could have a significant part to play in next season. I think we've got firepower. I think we've got an excellent defence. We would have a fantastic midfield and the best goalkeeper in the world, as well as one of the craziest motherfuckers in the manager in the hot seat. So bring it on.
Squawka Dave, you actually think that Pogba's going to happen, so I'm assuming that you think we're going to do the treble next season.
Let's confirm
the treble, does the Europa League count?
I hope it's going to happen. I feel that United have to be competitive. I think that doing your business early puts you in such a good position to starting off well in the Premier League. Again, going back to the training sessions, there's more training sessions if you've got your players in early. I feel United are going to have to compete for the Premier League title. I think that's what Mourinho wants to do. Mourinho, yesterday had that allure about him that, I've won the Premier League before, I can do it again type thing. Pep's going to come into the league. It's going to take him it's going to take him and his players time to adapt to his style of play. They're going to be very, very dangerous. But I'd also think Manchester United are going to be very, very dangerous. And if they do sign Paul Pogba, like we all hope and dream about happening, watching him at Juventus last season, it was like watching a breath of fresh air. It was so, so good on the ball, technically perfect. And I feel if he can bring that to the Manchester United midfield, it gives United so many options because he can sort of play the role of two players in a way. Bringing the ball forward, being that box-to-box player, but also being the creator in the final third, which could lead to Manchester United playing a 4-4-2 if they need to at times. One man, we didn't even talk about Memphis Depay, but we haven't even mentioned Marcus Rashford. Imagine if Mourinho needs to go 4-4-2 in some games, he could go with Zlatan and Marcus Rashford up front. That is the perfect combination of two strikers.
Very exciting.
One that's running in behind, one that's very, very skillful, one that's really good at playing on that last man, and then Zlatan Ibrahimovic that can drop into central midfield, can pull defenders out of position. That is the perfect blend of two players there. And if Mourinho wants to go with that, Paul Pogba in central midfield with Schweinsteiger, with Carrick, a deep line playmaker. That's what Pogba needs. He needs someone to get him the ball. So if you've got someone next to him that could do that, get Pogba the ball in that final third. Playing a 4-4-2 might not be too away from what actually happens in certain games. And if Manchester United do that, they'll go on to win the league. I think that's it. I think the Paul Pogba is the difference between the level of Man United being second, being third, or winning the league. It's that one player. So if that business can go through and happen, or maybe a player not as the same level as Paul Pogba, but a very, very good central midfielder that can maybe play those two roles, I'll be very, very happy. I believe that United could go on to win the Premier League. I think it's now. I think that we will see Leicester drop off. We'll see. I think that the Premier League's moving to a way where the top four is going to be coming back because Mourinho increases the competitiveness so much in the league. Guardiola's going to increase that. Those teams that are going to be on the top, whether it will be United, it will be City, but it will be two other sides, whether it be Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, but they'll enter that elite, or Tottenham, for example. They'll enter that elite, and the next few years there'll be four teams that dominate the Premier League, and this is the season where they emerge, and it will be Manchester United.
Dave, Howson, thank you very much for joining us and getting me really, really excited. It's been another huge debate on Full Time Devils. Guys, get in your comments below. Tell me what you think Jose Mourinho's starting 11 will be for the game against Bournemouth. It's all very exciting. Really looking forward to the new season. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Give us a like, give us a share. I've been Gaz. Laters. See you in a bit.
Paul Pogba is on his way then. That is if you believe reports going about at the minute. A lot of reports suggesting that Manchester United are about to lodge a £100 million world record bid for the Juventus midfielder.